The city of Brooklyn, New York was alive with noise, taxi horns, food vendors shouting on corners, the screech of trains overhead. But down by the East River docks, the world grew quieter. Old warehouses stood like giants, their broken windows staring at the water as if keeping secrets. At 2:13 a.m., Officer Derek Miles responded to a 911 call about screams near Pier 47. Most calls at that hour were drunks or pranksters, but the dispatcher's tone was different, tight, urgent. Derek parked his cruiser beside the warehouse, its walls tagged with graffiti, its doors chained but slightly ajar. The salty wind whipped through as he stepped inside, flashlight raised. The beam sliced across rusted machinery, broken pallets, and rats scurrying over debris. Then he saw it. A woman's body lay sprawled across the concrete floor, half hidden under a torn tarp. Her dark hair was matted with blood, and her eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. A knife wound slashed across her abdomen, deliberate and brutal. Derek's pulse hammered. He called it in immediately. "Dispatch, this is Officer Miles. I've got a homicide, female victim. Send detectives and search you now." Within 30 minutes, the warehouse was buzzing with crime. Scene techs. Cameras flashed, evidence markers dotted the floor, and detectives swarmed the site. Detective Janet Cole, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for breaking tough cases, crouched beside the body. "No ID, no purse," she muttered, but whoever did this wanted her to be found. Look at the staging, right in the open center of the floor. Her partner, Detective Evan Ross, scanned the area. There's no blood trail, which means she wasn't killed here. Someone dumped her body. Janet's eyes narrowed, which means we're dealing with a killer who's sending a message. By sunrise, the story had already broken on the local news. Body of unidentified woman found in Brooklyn warehouse. Reporters gathered outside the police line, eager for details. Inside the precinct, Captain Ray Donovan was furious. Brooklyn's on edge as it is. Last thing we need is panic about some serial killer. I want results fast. Cole, Ross, this is yours. Don't screw it up. Janet glanced at the evidence bag on the table. Inside was the only personal item found on the victim. A train ticket stub from Penn Station, time-stamped just 3 hours before the body was discovered. On the back, scribbled in blue ink, were 3 chilling words, "You can't hide." Ross frowned. "Looks like she was running from someone." Janet tapped the photo of the ticket, or running to someone. Either way, she didn't make it. Later that afternoon, the coroner confirmed what Janet already suspected. The woman had been dead less than 4 hours before being found. The wound was precise, almost surgical. Whoever killed her knew what they were doing. Ross pulled up transit records. According to Amtrak logs, this ticket was purchased under the name Emily Vargas, age 27. No address on file, just a prepaid debit card. Janet exhaled. So, she tried to cover her tracks. Fake info, cash payments. She didn't want to be found. Ross leaned back in his chair, but someone did find her. That night, as Janet walked to her car in the precinct's parking lot, her phone buzzed. "An unknown number," she answered, cautious. A man's voice, low and cold, said, "You're too late, detective. Emily was only the beginning." The line went dead before she could trace it. Janet stood frozen, her breath clouding in the cold Brooklyn air. If the killer was calling her, this wasn't just a murder. It was a game. Detective Janet Cole barely slept that night. The killer's voice echoed in her mind. Emily was only the beginning. She had worked enough homicide cases to know when a murderer was finished, and when he was just getting started. This one wasn't done. By morning, the precinct was swarming. Reporters hounded the entrance, demanding answers. The city was already buzzing with fear, hashtags like #BrooklynButcher trending online. In the homicide unit, Janet's partner, Evan Ross, sat hunched over his laptop, scrolling through transit footage. "Got something," he said as Janet entered, holding up a still frame. It showed Emily Vargas at Penn Station the night she died. She looked nervous, constantly glancing over her shoulder. A man in a gray hoodie appeared in the background of multiple shots, always a few yards behind her. His face was never clear, always shadowed. Ross enlarged the frame. "Think that's our guy." "Could be," Janet said, or maybe she thought he was following her. Either way, we need to ID him. The first real lead came when CSU processed Emily's clothing. Hidden inside the lining of her jacket, they found a folded piece of paper, creased, worn, as if she had carried it for weeks. On it was a single address, 221 Green Avenue, Brooklyn. Janet and Ross were on the road within the hour. Green Avenue was lined with old brownstones, some renovated into expensive apartments, others crumbling with neglect. Number 221 was one of the latter. Inside, the air smelled of dust and mildew. The front door was unlocked, the windows covered with newspapers. It looked abandoned, but the dust on the floor told another story. Someone had been there recently. In the living room, Ross's flashlight swept over peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and then he stopped. Janet, over here. Pinned to the wall were photographs, dozens of them. Each one showed Emily Vargas in different places, leaving coffee shops, boarding trains, walking down crowded sidewalks. Someone had been stalking her for months. At the center of the wall, circled in red ink, was her face, but there was something else, another set of photos. This time they weren't of Emily, they were of Detective Janet Cole. Janet's stomach dropped as she stared at the images, her leaving her apartment, entering the precinct, even jogging in the park. Ross swore under his breath, "He's watching you." Back at the precinct, Captain Donovan slammed his fist on the table when he saw the photos. "This isn't just a killer, this is a psychopath playing with us, and now he's targeting my detectives." Janet forced herself to stay calm, "which means we're closer than we think. He wouldn't risk showing his hand unless he wanted me to see it." Ross muttered, "Or unless he wants to break you." Before Janet could answer, Officer Derek Miles, the patrolman who first found the body, rushed in with news. "We've got another one. Same setup. Warehouse near the Navy Yard." The room fell silent. When they arrived at the Navy Yard warehouse, it was déjà vu. The victim this time was a man, early 30s, bound to a chair with duct tape. His throat was cut clean, blood pooling beneath him. Ross examined the scene grimly. Different victim, same staging, no wallet, no phone, left in the open. But there was something new this time. On the wall behind the victim, written in blood, were two chilling words: "Find her." Janet's pulse quickened. "Find who? Emily. She's already dead." Ross shook his head. Maybe he's talking about someone else. That night, exhausted but restless, Janet sat at her kitchen table, staring at the crime scene photos. She noticed something she hadn't before: the way the letters on the wall were shaped, jagged, uneven, almost like they were carved instead of written. She enlarged a photo, her breath caught. The strokes weren't random, they formed a pattern, a hidden symbol etched within the letters, a circle with a line cutting through it. She'd seen it before, years ago, on a case she could never forget. The East River Stalker, a killer who terrorized New York a decade earlier, leaving victims near the water with cryptic messages. He was never caught. The case had haunted Janet ever since, but the stalker was supposed to be dead, killed in a prison riot 5 years ago. So how was his symbol showing up now? Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She hesitated before answering. The same cold voice whispered, "Detective Cole. You should have stopped when you had the chance. She's still out there, and if you don't find her, she dies next." The line went dead. Janet stared at her phone, her mind racing. Whoever this was, they weren't just killing. They were dragging her into a nightmare from her past, and she wasn't sure she'd survive it this time. Detective Janet Cole sat in her car outside the precinct at 3 a.m., engine off, mind racing. The warehouse killings, the photos, the calls, it all tied back to the East River stalker, but that was impossible. The man responsible, Richard Hensley, had been declared dead in a prison riot at Rikers 5 years earlier. She had read the report herself, yet the symbol on the wall was undeniable, the jagged circle with a line through it, the stalker's calling card. She rubbed her temples, exhaustion pressing in. Could this be a copycat? Or had the system lied and Hensley was still alive? Her phone buzzed, a message, no number displayed. It was a single image, a photo of a young woman tied to a chair in a dimly lit room. Her face was bruised, terrified. Beneath the image, 4 words, "She runs out tomorrow." Janet's blood ran cold. Whoever this was, he had a living hostage, and if the message was true, she had less than 24 hours to find her. The next morning, Captain Donovan stormed into the homicide unit. Media's going wild. 2 bodies in 2 days. If this escalates, City Hall will hang us. What have you got? Janet slid the phone across the table, showing him the message. Donovan's face hardened. Damn it, he's taunting us now. Ross frowned. If he says tomorrow, that means he's planning to kill again in less than 24 hours. We need to track this location. Tech officers worked to trace the image, but the killer had masked his trail. No metadata, no GPS tag, just a room with concrete walls and a single hanging bulb. Ross muttered, "Could be anywhere." Janet clenched her fists. Not anywhere. The warehouse. Both victims were dumped in old dockside buildings. He's staying close to the water, just like the stalker always did. Donovan raised an eyebrow. "You're not seriously saying this is Hensley?" "I'm saying it looks like him," Janet replied. "Either he's alive or someone's carrying on his legacy. By afternoon, Sis, you finally found a lead from the second victim's body." The duct tape binding his wrists contained traces of a rare industrial adhesive used in packaging plants. Cross, referencing addresses, Ross found only 3 active facilities in Brooklyn. One of them was just half a mile from the abandoned Green Avenue brownstone where they had found the stalking photos. Janet's instincts flared. That's it. He's keeping her there. Donovan shook his head. "We don't have a warrant, and if you're wrong, we blow the case wide open. You'll spook him, and the hostage dies." Janet leaned across the table, eyes burning. "If we wait, she dies anyway. We're running out of time." That night, unable to let it go, Janet made a reckless choice. She didn't wait for backup. Instead, she drove alone to the warehouse on Fulton Street, her Glock holstered at her side. The building was massive, its windows shattered, its metal doors chained but loose. The wind howled through broken beams, carrying the faint smell of oil and rust. She slipped inside, flashlight sweeping across the shadows. Empty crates, old forklifts, cobwebs, then she heard it, a muffled cry. Heart pounding, she followed the sound to a back room. The door was locked, but she kicked it open. Inside, under the glare of a single hanging bulb, was the woman from the photo, bound to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, eyes wide with terror. Janet rushed forward, tearing the tape from her lips. "It's okay, you're safe now. I'm Detective Cole." The woman sobbed. "He said you'd come. He said..." A sound behind her. Janet spun, gun raised, but the room was empty. Then she noticed it, red laser dots dancing across her chest. A voice boomed from the darkness above, distorted by a voice modulator. "You're predictable, detective, always chasing ghosts." Before she could react, the lights cut out. Total darkness swallowed the room. The hostage screamed. Janet fired a shot into the black, but the sound of footsteps echoed, retreating fast. By the time backup arrived, summoned by Ross, who had tracked her car's GPS, the warehouse was empty. The hostage was alive, but the killer was gone, leaving behind only a message scrawled in chalk on the wall. "The game is just starting." At the precinct, Donovan tore into her. "You disobeyed direct orders, put a civilian at risk, and almost got yourself killed. What the hell were you thinking?" Janet's voice was steel. "I was thinking about saving her life, and I did." Ross placed a hand on the table. "Captain, he's escalating. He's not just killing now. He's hunting us. We can't keep playing defense." Donovan looked between them, anger giving way to grim resignation. Fine, you've got one chance. Find this bastard before he strikes again, or I'll have both your badges. That night, Janet returned home, exhausted but restless. She poured herself a glass of whiskey and sat in the dark, staring out the window at the city lights. A scratching sound made her freeze. She turned slowly. On her living room wall, written in black marker, was the same jagged circle with a line through it. The killer had been inside her home. Detective Janet Cole stared at the jagged symbol on her living room wall, her heart hammering. The intruder had been inside her home, close enough to watch her sleep. For the first time in years, the fearless detective felt genuine fear not for herself, but for what this killer was capable of. She called Ross immediately. Within minutes, he arrived with his gun drawn, sweeping the apartment for signs of entry. The window latch in the kitchen was broken, a faint smear of dirt on the sill. He'd come and gone like a ghost. "This guy isn't just taunting us," Ross muttered grimly. "He's marking territory. You're the prize, Janet." Janet clenched her fists. "Then it's time we stop chasing his shadows and drag him into the light." At the precinct the next morning, tech officers finally cracked something useful. The chalk used to scrawl "The game is just starting" at the warehouse wasn't ordinary. It was a rare industrial grade, manufactured by only one supplier in New York. Referencing buyers, the team found an abandoned property leased under a shell company 2 years earlier. The address, Pier 12 Storage Facility, East River. Janet felt a chill. The East River, Hensley's old hunting ground. Captain Donovan gave them the go-ahead. "SWAT'll meet you there. End this tonight." As the sun set, the convoy rolled silently toward Pier 12. The storage facility loomed against the water, rusted gates yawning open. Rows of corrugated metal units stretched into the darkness. The air smelled of salt and decay. Janet and Ross moved ahead with flashlights, weapons drawn. The SWAT team fanned out, kicking open storage units one by one. Most empty, some filled with rotting junk. Then they found it. Unit Hash 47. Inside was a twisted shrine, photos of every victim, news clippings from the stalkers' killings a decade earlier, and fresh images of Janet, taken from outside her apartment, at the grocery store, even in her car. Ross's stomach turned. This isn't just obsession, this is worship. At the center of the shrine sat a chair. On it lay a box. Inside was a cassette recorder. Janet pressed play. The killer's distorted voice filled the room. "You've done well, detective, but this ends where it began. Meet me at midnight under the Brooklyn Bridge. Alone, or more blood will stain your city." The tape clicked off. Captain Donovan wanted no part of it. "It's a trap. He'll kill you the second you show up." Janet's voice was steady. "He won't kill me, not yet. I'm his final game piece. He wants me to play." Ross slammed a fist on the table. "Then I'm coming with you." Janet shook her head. "No, if he sees backup, he'll vanish. This ends tonight, Ross, one way or another." Midnight. The Brooklyn Bridge loomed like a skeleton over the East River, its steel cables cutting through the fog. The city lights glowed faintly in the distance, muted by the mist. Janet stood alone beneath the bridge, Glock holstered but ready. Her pulse pounded in her ears. A shadow emerged from the fog, a tall figure in a gray hoodie, mask obscuring his face. "Detective Cole," the distorted voice echoed. "You never disappoint." Janet drew her weapon. "Take off the mask." The figure laughed softly. "You already know who I am." He pulled back the hood. Janet's breath caught. It wasn't Richard Hensley. It was Derek Miles, the patrol officer who had first discovered Emily's body. Her mind reeled. "You." His eyes glowed with manic satisfaction. "I studied Hensley, memorized his work. When he died, I took his symbol, his methods, his legacy, but I improved it. Cleaner, smarter, and now I've beaten you at your own game." Janet's grip tightened on her gun. "You're not a genius. You're a coward hiding behind dead men's shadows." Derek's smile widened. "Maybe, but tonight I finish what Hensley started. Your blood will be my masterpiece." He lunged. The fight was brutal. He swung a knife, slashing at her arm. Janet fired, the bullet grazing his shoulder. They grappled, crashing onto the damp concrete. His strength was fueled by madness, but Janet fought with raw desperation. He pinned her, blade raised for the kill. Then a shot rang out. Derek jerked, eyes wide, blood blooming across his chest. Ross emerged from the shadows, gun smoking. "You really thought I'd let you do this alone?" Derek collapsed, gasping. "You ruined it. She was supposed to die." His last breath rattled out, and he lay still. In the aftermath, the city exhaled. News outlets hailed Janet and Ross as heroes for ending the reign of the so-called Brooklyn Butcher. Captain Donovan, though furious at the risks taken, admitted privately that without Janet's instincts, Derek Miles would never have been unmasked. But Janet found no victory in it. Standing on the edge of the East River, she stared at the water where so many victims had been left to rot. The reflection of the bridge shimmered in the current, distorted, fractured. Ross stepped beside her. "It's over, Janet. You can breathe again." She nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed fixed on the dark water. "No," she whispered, "it's never really over. Not in this city." The river kept flowing, silent, as if holding the secrets of Brooklyn's darkest shadows.